Thanksgiving, everybody. Boy, this is going to be a different one this year since we're not going to be able to get together in our usual big groups. I usually have 20 to 30 people here. Everybody brings something. It's so festive. This year it's going to be a little different. So I thought it would be fun to take advantage of that and try something new, something I haven't done before. And so I've put together this menu for you, and I hope you like it. Let's get started. I'm ready for a cocktail. I hope you are too. I thought it would be fun to make a classic cosmopolitan because it has cranberry juice in it. So I'm going to start with 2 cups of vodka, and you want it to be a good quality vodka. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put this into a pitcher. I'm going to make it in this pitcher, but then I'm going to shake it in a shaker. 2 cups of vodka. 1 cup of Cointreau or triple sec. 1 cup of cranberry juice cocktail. That's the one with sugar in it. And then the last thing is 1/2 cup of freshly squeezed lime juice. Let's see, hopefully that's enough. Pretty close. Okay, so that's our ingredients. We're going to give that a stir. Then the last step is I'm going to fill my shaker halfway with ice and shake it for 30 seconds. Put the lid on it. Okay, that should do it. Let's pour that into our teeny glasses. So our cocktail is ready. I'm going to sip on this while we make the rest of our meal. So the first thing I'm going to start on is my turkey. And I am not going to do a big, massive whole turkey this year. What I'm going to do are turkey tenderloins. But the first thing we're going to do is we're going to make the marinade. It is 3 tablespoons of soy sauce, and I like to use the soy sauce that has the lighter sodium. And then 1 tablespoon of Dijon mustard. And then 2 teaspoons of chopped rosemary. And I have rosemary from my garden, so you could use dried if you don't have fresh. And then I'm just going to use my chopper to chop these fine. It's a lot easier to use a tool like this than to try to use your knife. So we have about 2 teaspoons of the freshly chopped rosemary, and it smells so good. And then I'm just going to take a whisk and whisk that together. That's going to be our marinade. I have a typical plastic Ziploc bag, so I'm going to open my turkey tenderloins, and I'm just going to pop them into this bag. And then once they're in the bag, I'm just going to pour the marinade right over. Seal it up, get the air out of there. Okay, I'm just going to squish this around a little bit. And then you want to put this into the refrigerator for between 1 and 4 hours. So the next thing we're going to do is put together a couple of our side dishes. And the first one is green beans that's wrapped in prosciutto with a little bit of brown sugar. I have blanched these, which means I put them into boiling water for about 30 seconds and then immediately put them into ice water to stop the cooking. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a handful of the beans, and then I'm going to take a piece of prosciutto, and I'm going to wrap them and then just set them onto the baking sheet. This is just a half sheet pan, and I've lined it with aluminum foil so that it's just an easier cleanup for me. And then I'm just going to take some brown sugar, sprinkle a little bit on top of these bundles, and then we'll just put these aside and we'll put them in the oven just before we're ready to eat, because basically all we're doing is just kind of warming them up and melting that sugar. So the next thing I'm going to make is a dish that has been part of my family's Thanksgiving for generations. This is my grandmother's cranberry relish recipe. The first thing that you want to do is you want to make the Jell-O. So you want a small box of any kind of red Jell-O. So I'm just going to put the gelatin into a container. We're going to dissolve this in 1 cup of boiling water. So let me turn on my electric tea kettle. Okay, so while my water is getting ready to boil, I'm going to start chopping my fruit. So I'm starting with 2 cups of raw cranberries. And I'm just going to grind these up until they're kind of a small mince. So you can see what that looks like, a small mince. Put that into a big bowl. The next thing that we're going to add is a small can of crushed pineapple. And I want to have the juice of this pineapple. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open it and I'm going to strain it over my measuring cup so that I can have that juice to add to it later. Next thing is 2 apples. I'm going to leave the skins on these apples. So I am going to core them and I'm going to cut them into chunks and then I'm going to put them in the food processor. I think as soon as these are finished grinding, my water will be boiling. Then my next ingredient is orange. And I am going to take one of these oranges, peel it, and put the pieces in here. This half of the orange, though, I'm going to take half of that rind, and I'm going to grind it up and put it in there. So I'm going to take 1 cup of boiling water, and I'm going to add it to that Jell-O packet. And I'm going to stir that around until it's completely dissolved. Okay, so I'm going to take some of this rind and I'm going to put this into my food processor and try and grind that up. And then I'm going to add that ground up rind to my fruit. My pineapple has drained down now. I'm going to add my pineapple. So now I'm just going to stir this fruit together. And then to this, I'm going to add 1 cup of sugar. Okay, so the last thing I'm going to do is start to dilute this Jell-O. So I want to add to this 3/4 of a cup of liquid. So I've got my pineapple juice here. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to squeeze in the juice of half of an orange, add this juice to the Jell-O. Stir that around. Make sure the Jell-O is nicely dissolved. And then I'm going to pour this Jell-O over my fruit. And once we get to this point, what we're going to do is we're going to refrigerate it. Here are my turkey tenderloins. They've been marinating now for a couple hours. So I am just going to take them out of the bag and put them on a baking sheet that I have lined with foil so it'll be easy to clean up. Let me give that broiler a minute or 2 to really heat up. Then what we're going to do is we're going to cook it 10 minutes on the first side, flip it over, cook it another 10 minutes on the other side. Then we're going to let it rest for a little while. So while my tenderloins are cooking, I'm going to put together dessert. I'm not actually cooking this dessert. I picked up this store-bought pumpkin pie. I can dress this up and make it look like a special dessert. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add a little bit of whipped cream to the top. And then I think I'll take some pecans and chop up a few pecans and sprinkle them on top. Then next, I picked up ice cream sundae syrup in caramel. And I'm just going to squeeze some of this caramel sauce over top. And then the last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take some maple apple cinnamon sprinkle and I'm just going to sprinkle this spice on top of the pie. So there we go. It's a quick and easy dessert and I'm sure it tastes better than if I had baked it myself. So we're at the halfway point on the meat. It's been in for 10 minutes under the broiler. So I'm going to take it out and flip it. Cook it for 10 minutes on the other side. So it's been 20 minutes. My turkey tenderloins should be finished. I'm going to pull them out of the broiler and let them rest for about 10 minutes. But while they're resting, I can put my beans in and get those finished up. I think I'm going to set the timer for like 5 minutes on these. Pull that out. So our turkey's been resting for a few minutes. I'm going to go ahead and cut into it and see how that looks. That looks great. Turkey's all finished. I'm just going to garnish this plate with the leftover cranberries. From my house to yours, happy Thanksgiving. I hope it's a very special one that you're able to celebrate with your loved ones, whether they're near or they're far. And I hope you try a couple of these recipes. Happy Thanksgiving.